Evening to you both. Paul, interesting to start with you in terms of these figures and the isolation you say that men go through as soon as they become dads. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, that's right. So November's really focused on the key transition moments in guys' lives when they can start to struggle. And actually, one of the ones that tends to get overlooked is becoming a dad, because it's such a common experience. It happens to tens of thousands of men every year in this country. And yet it's a time where you can get isolated. You know, everything changes. Your key relationships all fundamentally change, and really actually you may be in a relationship where you're everything to each other, and suddenly there's someone new in that setup, and actually dads can feel quite sort of set on one side. It's so important that dads have outlets to be able to sort of deal through that phase, and it's really important to say that it's such a positive experience for most dads. It really, really is. But having friends and being able to relate to those social connections can really help through those difficult times.
I mean, Marvin, is this something you can relate to in terms of that isolation, not having somebody to talk to when you first became a dad?
Absolutely. To the point, that's the reason why I started Dope Black Dads as a group, is on Father's Day, I was sitting there in the evening and I just wanted to share the experience a bit more, and I wanted to speak to more fathers. I was like, I don't actually have a space to do so, so I just created one. And then it's been amazing ever since to have a group of now, I think it's 175 fathers who can all share about the different things that they go through. And the themes are very, very consistent, which is great because it means we're getting the support, but also very scary because there's a large amount of things that are not being tackled and unpacked, which desperately need to be.
I mean, when it comes to dealing with parenthood, you know, mummies can get a lot, if not most of the focus, understandably so, because obviously they're women who've had the baby. But when you look at, in light of the figures when it comes to male suicide and mental health, this is something that does really need to be looked at, needs to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, evidence is showing around 1 in 10 men feel a form of postnatal depression, and also that the risk of suicide is massively elevated if you're one of those 1 in 10 men, so up to 47 times extra. So it's so important that we recognise this issue and include the conversation and make sure men have the services that they need and the conversations they need.
Marvin, what's your advice to men out there, particularly new dads, because that can just, when it's the first time, it really can be a shock to the system. Yeah. What should dads be doing if they do feel
I think
lonely?
you have to create your own spaces, and I think that's one of the things that we've learned from Dope Black Dads, is that we didn't have the things we needed. So there'll be fathers who would try to go to community groups or go to parenting classes, and they would find that it's not necessarily the most welcoming environment for fathers. And so we decided to create our own space, and then we turned that from a digital space into a physical space. So we meet up every month. And just to discuss all the things that's going on, but also just to communicate and just be fathers, be men again as well, and kind of revert back to who we were outside of just being a father.
Yeah, Paul, what would your advice be?
Well, advice would be, it's for dads to look after themselves during this time. It's Father's Day at the end of this week.
It is.
And for those around dads as well, it's really, really important everyone's involved in this. Check in with a dad. So look beyond your own father and father figure. Celebrate them, obviously, but also check in with someone who's a mate who may be going through a tough time, and just sort of acknowledge, be there for them, and just make sure they remain friends. It's so important in the long term, not just in that short bubble of being a young dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't forget about the daddies. And Paul Mitchison and Marvin Harrison, as always, really good talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.